Okay, recording has started. Well, welcome. Happy afternoon on this. Oh, I think it's trying to snow. This once again snowy day here in central New York. Thank you for joining us for our second technical assistance for program year 51. This session is specifically focused on the second RFP. Let me see if it looks like I may be the only one to admit, so I apologize if I pause for a second as folks join from the waiting room. Let me see here. Let me actually see if I can get Sophie, are you able to admit from the waiting room?
Yep, I can keep an eye out.
Okay, you know what? Thank you. I should have confirmed logistics before starting. So let me start again. So welcome everyone to the second RFP for CDBG for year 51. So this is the second technical assistance session for program year 51. This is the second RFP. And as you'll see, it is specifically focused on a couple of key strategic priorities and specifically on CDBG. We will have time at the end for questions, so please post them in the chats or hold them until the end. As I said before, the session is being recorded and the slides and the recording will be shared out tomorrow on NBD's website. I think we have Commissioner Collins on the line. Michelle Spansky, Deputy Commissioner, could not join us. I'm Tanya Eastman, the Director of Neighborhood Grants. We have Sophia Fisher, our day-to-day leader of the CDBG program. Sue McMahon and Renee lead up our ESG and home programs. I don't think they're on the line, but Sophie really is your main point of contact for CDBG, and she joined our team in June. Man, it feels like a lot longer. It's been a critical asset already to our team here. So purpose here today is to go through the RFP, the application timeline, supporting documents required, a brief note about Section 3, and then notes on funding specifically. The application is due on February 10th at 2 p.m. And that was disclosed in a couple of the email correspondence that had gone out. It's posted on the website. And again, that should be sent via email. If you're having a problem sending it, reach out to Sophie and we can find other ways to receive that info. And if you have not already, just so that we know, since this is a second RFP, she may have connected with you already, but if you plan on applying, please let her know so that we know to anticipate an application from you before that deadline. Application timeline. So this timeline relates the first part specifically to the RFP that is currently open. So the second RFP. Next week, we will be offering technical assistance. You may have already been in contact with Sophia. Please reach out to schedule time if you have any questions. Again, we have some flexibility here with timing, but this is want to make sure that we have an opportunity to connect with you before the deadline as you prepare applications. Deadline for applications is Monday, February 10th, 2 p.m. We usually do Mondays. Again, late incomplete applications will not be reviewed. Please reach out to Sophia if you're having any technical difficulties submitting the application. Financial review begins on Tuesday, actually the 11th. Since this is a second RFP, we're really moving quickly to make sure we get in all applications, review for all required documents, and then turn them around to our Commissioner Collins and our CFO for NBD to ensure that the financial review begins and is completed that week of February 10th. The following week, our risk analysis committee, which is made up of external community members and internal NBD staff, will review the applications via and use our rubric, etc. Same process as we've always had for our entitlement grants. RAC will deliberate on funding decisions and then submit applications to NBD. We will then prepare a draft budget inclusive of applications received in this second RFP, in addition to CDBG applications submitted in the first RFP to be reviewed by deputy commissioner, and then ultimately mayor, deputy mayor, in preparation to be submitted to council with the action plan and 25 to 29 consolidated plan, which will be published publicly on the 28th of February. In that, for those that have applied before, know the proposed agencies funded. Our recommendations will be posted there, in addition to all of the work that has gone into creating the consolidated plan and the first year action plan. The 30-day review period and comment period begins on the 28th. Our public session with NBD is March 18th at 5:30 p.m. in council chambers. In April, Common Council Neighborhood Preservation Committee will schedule and hold their hearing for public comment on the action plan and the consolidated plan, and often specifically around the budget. We will share out information as that action plan comes out about how to either show up and share comments and receive, we'll be receiving comments on the NBD side in letters, etc., as we always have, to be included as part of that comment period in the final plan that goes together. As soon after the council votes on the budget and the plan, we will work with the applying and funded organizations to refine scoping and budgeting so that we stay in front of being prepared for the release of funds by HUD once we receive that information. Our program year, as always, begins on May 1st and will run through April, like every year for entitlement funding. And as many of you may know, we are doing monthly vouchers and performance reports. And I know that Sophia on the CDBG side has been following up with those that are current recipients to ensure that we have the information we need going into these this second round of RAC review, as that's often a question that is asked of applicants, vouchering and performance reports, etc. And so we will, as we have done in the last few recent years, start to request for vouchers and performance reports as soon as that scoping and budgeting process is finished. We anticipate September, and actually that's probably late. We were really fortunate to have the release of funds happen a little earlier than it had been, especially the last couple of years. We anticipate that will continue. So expect there to be a regular cadence in communication for applicants that have been awarded, so that as soon as funds are released, we are able to process the vouchers that we have in queue. And again, submitting those vouchers as the months complete allow us an opportunity to review them, make sure they're set, and get them ready for once that release of funds happens, we're able to process them through our finance system. Application overview. There are no changes this year. This is the same list as our first RFP for program year 51. It is the same as program year 50. Inclusion of all of these required documents. The financials, etc., like I said, will be reviewed by Commissioner Collins and our CFO. And then our NBD team, Sophia and I, will review all of the other required documents. We do ask that if you are applying, please keep an eye out. We will acknowledge receipts and completion of your application. Sometimes we get, 2 board minutes versus 1, etc. Because of the quick turnaround to get this information to finance internally and our risk analysis committee, we're going to be reaching out really within 24 hours if we see anything missing or have any additional questions, so that we can note the file complete, the application complete, and have it move on to the next stage of the process. Section 3 in local hiring, NBT, as always, monitors funding to measure MWBE participation. Section 3 residential employment, there's a summary of that in the application. Section 3 business participation, also, as it relates to organizations requesting more than $100,000, we're asking that you agree to follow that Section 3 reporting as required by NBD and ultimately HUD. And if you have any questions about this, please reach out to Sophie or I with questions. Notes on funding, similar to other years. Funding levels change every year. We anticipate will be about the same as last year, and so that's how we will prepare our draft budget for submission to Common Council. Applicants are strongly encouraged to review all of the descriptions for eligibility, specifically around the type of programming, and this is a much narrower focus than the original RFP. The original RFP really focused on housing and narrowed in that way, and this is now looking at 2 additional strategic priorities. Agency funding allocations really depend on level HUD receives. As in prior years, we will submit a recommendation. What they approve is a recommendation that we will then send to HUD, and then ultimately we will hear back what percentage of that is funded. Applicants are strongly encouraged to demonstrate funding from non-city sources through matching. And again, for CDBG RFP2, applications must focus specifically on building wealth, family wealth, and promoting economic inclusion and improving neighborhood vibrancy. So we're going to talk about that right now. And again, priority is given to programs that demonstrate that 25% match or greater. So these are the strategic funding priorities for this RFP. You'll see here, it doesn't start with 1 because we have several priorities that were included in the first RFP for program year 51. And so we are not accepting applications that meet the need or seek to meet the need of those funding priorities. We are only seeking applications for these 2 specific funding priorities. And again, building family wealth and promoting economic inclusion, which is around workforce development. Again, noting construction trades, supporting Syracuse Build, projects and programs that support existing or anticipated projects within the city of Syracuse will be looked most favorably upon, and then developing creative financing solutions to assist individuals, families, small business owners really achieving their goals. We saw a little bit of this come through in the first RFP that was focused specifically on the housing space. And so we encourage organizations to really think creatively, look at programs that have been funded in the past, and think about areas that may fit within this, that maybe had not been funded before. Understanding there's a finite amount of funds and we anticipate the same level of funding as prior years. And then the second priority is around improving neighborhood vibrancy. And this strategic funding priority really is to support city-owned community centers with an emphasis on quality programming for youth and seniors. Again, CDBG always extremely competitive. The applications reviewed and approved by the Risk Analysis Committee from CDBG RFP2 will be added with the applications approved through CDBG RFP1, and then a cohesive, comprehensive budget will be created, anticipating a sort of one source of funding for all of those projects. Again, proposals must align with those two areas identified. 25% match or greater is a priority. That really is, I think I've said this a couple of times already. CDBG, CBDOs. I think many of you on the line are CBDOs, which, you know, we greatly appreciate it. It does actually help us flexibility wise with how we allocate funds. The application is the same as was provided for CDBG, the first RFP. If you've already completed a CBDO application for program year 51, this is not relevant to you. If you have not, please feel free to reach out to Sophia about questions. Ideally, if you are at a place eligibility wise, and there's a series of criteria that are required to be eligible as a community-based, or for you to be eligible as a community-based development org, if we can support you in getting that designation, it does allow for the inclusion of your activities to be exempt from the HUD 15% public service cap. So 15% max of our budget can be funded or can be recommended to support work that is only 15%, up to 15%, that is under that public service cap. So if your organization is a CBDO, you are not subject in our budgeting process to that 15% cap, so that it just gives us a lot more flexibility on our side. And the eligibility qualifications of becoming a CBDO are really in line with the spirit of community participation, etc. You know, a priority for the city of Syracuse. Closing tips, again, 2 p.m. on February 10th. Review eligibility. We'll be reaching out, you know, pretty quickly within 24 hours. If we're missing anything, we'll need a prompt response on that so we can turn it over quickly to the finance team for a review. Murphy's Law. If you're able to get your submission in advance, that is always appreciated, but really at the latest by 2 p.m. I think what we did in the fall was, if we had not received your application by 2 p.m. and we anticipated receiving one from you, Sophie reached out. So again, if she's not spoken with you about this second RFP, focused on these two specific funding priorities, please connect with her, let her know that you're going to be submitting an app so that we keep an eye out in case applications get stuck, knowing how big those files are. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing and open it up for questions. You guys are over here, so I'm going to look over here and then talk back. Are there any questions? Oh, I see. Oh, let me pull up the chat. I see it. Oh, Helen said, be right back. Okay. So that was, that's what I saw in the chat.
I'm back.
Okay. Are there any questions from anyone that is on the line? Oh, yep. Greg, I see a hand.
I was just curious about the 25% match requirement. That can be anything as long as it's not city funded. Like, we have some projects that are federally funded that are in partnership with the city. So I'm just curious kind of what the parameters are there.
I am pretty sure, and again, I can clarify this by looking at the details, and Sophia might know as well. Yeah, I think it's any non-entitlement. So really, if you receive funding from the city that is not, I don't know if it's specifically city or if it's specifically this type of entitlement funding. So that's not a good answer. Sophia, do you know?
I have not really certainty on it, but I would agree
Yeah.
with you that any other funding other than HUD entitlement funding would count.
Thank you.
So that would be
Yeah.
CDBG, home, or ESG.
Yeah, so if your organization is receiving funding through general city, like operating funds, that can be used as a match if the source of that is not one of our existing entitlement grants. I think I had, Joan, did I see a hand? No, or, nope. Thanks, I want to give a, okay. Any other questions? Oh, here we go. Is having a technical assistance one-on-one required? No, it is not. It really just provides an opportunity to ask questions about what you're putting together. We had quite a few of these in the fall because there were newer strategic priorities. So applicants wanted to kind of brainstorm, like, does this fall within the scope of what you're looking for? How should we best articulate? Sometimes, you know, which is common with so many grants, you know, there's only so much space in the grant application, and there's germane information about your program or what you're hoping to apply for that doesn't explicitly fall within the question asked. And so sometimes we walk through like, okay, you know, this information about your outcomes, your performance, etc., is germane. There's not a specific question, but we would encourage you to include it in section XYZ so that when the application to a review, a full picture is provided. So it's not required, but it's just one more really resource that you have from us to support you in the application compilation process. Any other questions? Okay, well, with that, like I said, the slides and this recording will be shared out on the website, and we'll send a link to everyone that has been receiving the emails about this second RFP. Like I had asked, if you've not connected with Sophia, just to let her know, like, hey, we're going to be submitting an application, just so that we keep an eye out so that the application does not get stuck in the technology sometimes, given how massive these files can be. And again, we are available for technical assistance, check-in conversations, anything like that in advance of submission on the 10th. Thanks, Tanya. Yep. Okay. That works, Jenny. If everyone else is set, I would say have a great afternoon. Maybe I'll see some of you at the State of the City this evening over at Grants Middle School, Mayor Walsh's final State of the City. Take care, everybody.